I didn't believe in anything. I need you to understand this before everything else. I wasn't just someone who didn't go to church, or who thought religion was a nice idea but unnecessary. No, I was the kind of person who actively argued against any idea that couldn't be placed under a microscope. An engineer by training, an analyst by nature, to me the universe was an equation, cold, elegant, perfectly indifferent. And death? Death was simply the period at the end of that equation. The lights go out and that's it. No mystery, no dramatic curtains, no reunions. And I mocked it. I'll be honest with you. I mocked it with the smug smile of someone who feels intellectually superior. Whenever someone talked to me about life after death, I would give them that look. You know the look of someone who has already decided that the other person is naive. What I never told anyone was what burned inside me. My parents had died 2 years apart from each other. My father first. Suddenly, his heart just stopped. Then my mother, as if life without him no longer made sense. And I, someone who believed that death was the absolute end, carried a grief for years that I never knew how to resolve. Because if there is nothing after, then my parents simply ceased to exist. They were erased. And that idea, which I defended with such intellectual conviction, was the same one that destroyed me inside every single night. Until that night. It was a dark road, the kind that seems to swallow your headlights. It was raining with an absurd violence, the kind of rain that turns the windshield into a liquid wall, no matter how fast the wipers work. I was coming back from a work trip, tired, my eyes heavy. And then, I don't know if it was a split second of distraction, if it was hydroplaning, if it was something I'll never be able to explain, the car left the road. The impact was as if the entire world had exploded around me. I remember the sound of metal twisting, a sharp, almost animal-like scream that didn't seem to belong to any material I'd ever known. I remember the glass shattering against my face like a rain of ice-cold needles. And then, the pain. Oh, the pain. Imagine someone clamping each one of your ribs in a vise and slowly tightening, while a red-hot iron rod pierces through your chest. That's what it was like. I was trapped in the wreckage. I couldn't move my legs. I could feel the blood, warm and heavy, running down the left side of my body as if a faucet had been left open inside me. I don't know how long it took for the paramedics to arrive. It could have been 5 minutes. It could have been an eternity. What I do know is that at some point I began to hear them. Distant voices, as if they were speaking underwater. And among those professional, controlled voices, I caught fragments that were branded into my memory like a hot iron on wood. No blood flow. Massive volume loss. I'm losing him. They tried to bring me back 3 times. 3 times the machines returned the same flat line and the same silence. From a clinical standpoint, I was dead. No pulse, no measurable brain activity, no sign that science would recognize as life. And that was the exact moment when everything I thought I knew fell apart. There was a moment, a precise instant, when the pain simply ended. It didn't ease up. It didn't fade away gradually. It vanished. From 1 millisecond to the next, as if someone had pulled the plug on everything that was destroying my body. A relief so absolute, so complete, that it almost became a physical sensation in itself. The best I can describe it is a pop, as if a pressure bubble had burst and suddenly I was free from something I didn't even know was holding me down. And then, sleep. But not just any sleep. It wasn't the restless sleep of someone having nightmares, or the light sleep of someone dozing off on the couch. It was the deepest, most peaceful, most total sleep you could ever imagine. A soft darkness, no pain, no fear, no sense of time. If you ask me how long it lasted, I couldn't tell you. It could have been 3 seconds. It could have been 300 years. To me, there was no difference. Time simply did not exist in that state. It was as if I had sunk into an ocean of absolute silence. And that silence was the safest thing I had ever felt. And I want you to hold on to this. It wasn't heaven. I didn't go to heaven. I was asleep. A deep and perfect sleep, without awareness, without suffering. That's what happens when the eyes close. Peace. But then something changed. In what felt like the very next blink, the darkness began to open. Not like someone turning on a light in a room. No, it was as if the very fabric of reality was slowly tearing apart from the center, revealing something behind it. And what I saw was not a memory. It was not a dream. It was ultra real. More real than anything I had ever experienced in all my years of life, with my eyes wide open, as if the reality I'd always known was a faded photocopy, and what was opening before me was the original document. I received it like a download, a prophetic download, a massive package of information delivered to me all at once, as if the Creator had opened the window in time and said to me, "Look, this is what has been prepared." And then I saw the day of the Great Awakening. The earth was renewed. It was not the planet I knew, polluted, worn out, wounded. It was the same earth, but as if it had been restored to its original version. The sky had a color I don't have the vocabulary to describe. Something between the deepest blue and the warmest gold, as if the very atmosphere was vibrating with life. You didn't breathe the air, you drank it. Every breath was like drinking fresh water after a lifetime of thirst. And there was a peace that was not merely the absence of conflict, but an active presence, almost solid, that wrapped around you and cleansed you from within. Layers upon layers of trauma, fear, and resentment, all dissolving at the touch of that peace, like ice under the sun. The grass beneath my feet was not simply green. It was luminous, as if each blade held its own light. Enormous trees with wide trunks and canopies that stretched out like living cathedrals cast cool, welcoming shadows. There were rivers of water so crystal clear you could see the colorful stones at the bottom, and flowers with petals that seemed made of velvet and light. And the animals. This was one of the things that struck me the most. Magnificent, enormous horses ran across open fields with a freedom that was almost painful in its beauty. Dogs of every size trotted among the people, lying down at the feet of those passing by, with that serene gaze of a creature that lives without fear. Birds of colors that don't exist on our current palette landed on people's shoulders as if it were the most natural thing in the world. A lion lay beside a lamb, and both breathed with the same calm. All of creation vibrated in harmony, every living being in a silent dance of peace with the whole. But the moment that broke me and rebuilt me at the same time, was when I saw the mothers, women who had lost children before they could even hold them, babies who never took a breath, children who left far too soon. And there, at that exact moment of the Great Awakening, I saw it, their eyes opening, small, perfect, whole, and the mothers running, not walking, running, their faces washed in tears, but tears unlike any I had ever seen. These were not tears of pain. They were tears of completion, of something that was finally made whole. They picked up those babies and held them as if the entire world had stopped just for that embrace. And I knew, with a certainty that shot through my chest like a bolt of lightning, those mothers were going to raise them. They would give them every single year that life had stolen from them. And then I saw the elderly. And this is where my legs gave way inside the vision. I saw people who had fallen asleep, bent by age, worn by disease, shrunken by time. And there, at the Great Awakening, their eyes opened. But they didn't open the tired eyes of the elderly. They opened radiant eyes, full of an energy I would associate with someone in the prime of life, around 30 years old. The skin restored, the body strong, the gaze clear. And they ran. They ran into the arms of those waiting for them at a speed that defied everything I understood to be possible. And that's when I saw them. My parents, eyes open, radiant, restored, young. And they were running toward me. And my mother reached out her arms before she even got to me, the way she always did when she was alive, and I knew. I knew with every fiber of that vision that this was not a fantasy. It was the future. It was a promise. And in the face of all of that, something inside me broke. It wasn't the scene itself, it was the contrast. Because suddenly, I saw with brutal clarity who I had been. Me, the skeptic, the analyst, the man who thought he owned the truth. I realized I had spent my entire life living for myself. My achievements, my titles, my brilliant arguments in debates about the non-existence of God. All of it was just a massive altar built in honor of the only God I truly believed in. Me, the God of self. Every promotion was to feed my ego. Every argument I won was to prove my superiority. And while I spent all my energy trying to prove that nothing existed beyond this life, I completely ignored the people who were living this life right beside me. I didn't pay attention to my son when he needed my presence. I didn't give my wife the attention she deserved. And I turned my grief for my parents into a fortress of bitterness instead of a bridge to compassion. And in that vision, I heard something, not with my ears, with something deeper. A sentence that cut through my entire being. You called me Lord, but you never made me Lord of your life. It was not said in anger, nor in judgment. It was said with a sadness so loving that it hurt more than any condemnation ever could. And I understood. The years we have here, these short, confusing, imperfect years, are not the main event. They are the preparation. They are the rehearsal before the symphony. And what matters in this rehearsal is not the applause we receive, but the sincere acts of love we offer. A hug given at the right moment is worth more than an empire built on ambition. A word of comfort weighs more on the scale that truly matters than all the diplomas in the world. And suddenly, the vision began to close. It didn't vanish all at once. It was as if someone was slowly closing a door between me and that glorious future. And I felt, with a desperation that tore me apart inside, that it was not yet my time. That this glimpse was a gift, not an immediate destination. There was something I still needed to do, an unfinished mission. People who needed to hear what I had seen. A life that needed to be lived in a completely different way. And then, the whoosh. I can't find another word for it. It was as if I had been vacuumed back into my own body at an absurd speed. And the contrast was violent. I went from absolute peace to the brutality of flesh. The weight of my body came back. Every pound felt like lead. The cold of the hospital hit me like a wall. The pain returned, but this time it felt almost bearable, as if the memory of what I had seen had created a layer of protection around me. I opened my eyes. White lights, beeping machines, tense faces leaning over me. And the first thing I did, before asking where I was, before checking my body, before any logical reaction my old self would have had, was smile. The medical team looked at me as if I had lost my mind. A man who had been clinically dead, who was resuscitated after multiple attempts, who should have been in panic or shock. And he was smiling, with a peace that didn't make sense. With a look that, they told me later, seemed like someone who had just returned from somewhere very, very far away and had brought back something precious. My wife was in the waiting room, my son beside her. They had been told to prepare for the worst, and when they saw me, awake, calm, with that smile that no one could understand, my wife broke down in tears. And I told her, my voice still rough and weak, I saw them. I saw my parents. And they're okay. They're in a sleep of peace. And the very next moment for them will be the most beautiful thing you could ever imagine. She didn't understand, not in that moment, but she felt it. And my son grabbed my hand and didn't let go for hours. Now listen to me, because this is for you. If today you carry in your chest the weight of someone who has gone, if you cry in the shower so no one will see, if you avoid certain songs because the pain is too much, if you feel that a part of you was buried alongside them, I need you to know this. For them, the pain is over. In the exact millisecond their eyes closed, all the pain, all the fear, all the sickness vanished. They are in a deep sleep of peace, no suffering, no sense of time. And the very next blink for them, the very next moment they will experience, will be exactly that wonderful scene I saw. The Great Awakening, the renewed earth, the body restored, and open arms waiting for them. And for them, waiting for you. I was the last man on the face of the earth who would have told you this. I was the one who laughed at these stories, the one who demanded proof. And now I'm the one standing here on the other side telling you, there is more. There is so much more. And it is more beautiful than anything the human mind could ever create. What I learned, what that prophetic download engraved into my very being, is that the most important thing you can do with the time you have here is not to accumulate, to conquer, or to prove. It is to seek the Creator with sincerity. It is to live in a way that, when that great awakening arrives, your heart is ready. It's not about rules or rituals. It's about an honest, daily, imperfect, but sincere search for the one who prepared all of this. And now I ask you, and I truly want you to answer in the comments, who is the person you can't wait to hold in your arms on the day of the Great Awakening? Close your eyes for a second. See their face. Imagine them with their eyes open, restored, radiant, running toward you. That embrace will happen, and it will last forever.